Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to the Anime Talk, the show where you have to see the future. Whoa. No, so obviously from the title, we're going to be talking about, a lot of people always saying the statement, more so than, let me start off with saying this. A lot of people always say the statement that anime, will it ever end? Will it ever finally hit this plateau that won't be escapable, that people will get bored of it, or just it'll have this kind of endpoint, this expiration date? And, today I want to talk about that. So, obviously, on the Anime Talk today, we're going to discuss the future of anime. Now, to me, honestly, I'm using the best example I can think of right away off the top of my head, Kimi no Ni wa, which I believe is your name in Japanese, and this is a Makoto Shinkai film, or Makoto Shinkai, excuse me. And what's funny about this is that it shows something that I think people do not fully grasp. It shows that art is getting better and better in anime. I mean, Makoto Shinkai has always been one of those artists that's pushed the button and limit to anime imagery and art. The same could be said with Miyazaki, for example. And these are people that will keep furthering each other's works until a point that you could really, I think, distinctively say what is real and what is anime. Because when you look at this image, at least my thoughts right away are, oh, this is a real image. And then if you look closely, you're like, oh wait, that's animated. Okay, I see how the traffic signs are animated and the background's animated, but it takes a really close look to it to see the fact that it's animated. And why I say this is a good example of this is because it shows that the future of anime is trying to build upon what people are already expecting and trying to build further into the world of anime. A lot of works, okay, we can talk about harem stuff, for example. They are clones of each other. A lot of harems are just meant to be from light novel series to kind of boost their, sales value and stuff like that, and, boost using fan service and sex appeal and stuff like that. But what's funny about those works is that they do a job of keeping the industry alive in its own right. I mean, because that is a major selling point in Japan. Again, I talked to this once before in my anime talks, but sex does sell in Japan in many ways. And what happens here with this work being, something that does sell, is it makes more money for the industry. Now, what this lets happen is more so anime becomes more and more of a franchise. It becomes more of a living entity that grows and becomes more profitable. So you see other people kind of use that, stepping stone that I know this sounds kind of stupid, but in many ways, because a harem series might do so well, it makes it so anime is, just growing in scale. And then so you have other people come in, like Makoto Shinkai, for example, and when they keep making works, first off, it shows that, hey, the industry is going further. It's trying to make stuff that's different and beautiful and more, advantageous to newer audiences in both the way it looks, the storytelling it does, and stuff like that. But it also is able to do that because people know that anime is already profitable. So it's like taking a lesser chance or a lesser risk. You'll have a better chance of playing the lottery if you have a stronger feeling that you're gonna pass and you're actually gonna win the lottery, right? It's the same concept, almost like that. It's the gambler's fallacy in many ways, because you think, oh well, because it's doing so well, I'm gonna keep making works that are worthy of the franchise, if that makes sense. And I apologize if it does really fully make sense, but I'll explain it even simpler. It's the concept that there really is no reasoning behind it. Ironically enough, that why should anime really continue forward? Why should anime get stronger and better? But if you go off the concept that it's doing so well right now, you can only presume and imagine that the money is going to keep going in, it's going to keep growing as an industry and a franchise and just a living, breathing entity, to the point that, 30, 40 years from now, it's not going to be so much of a risk to make something, because people are going to just want more stuff. They're not going to, per se, expect a lot. Now, here's the thing, though, is that eventually, as every single human being gets to a certain point, we do get tired of things. I mean, that's just, we do want to change. And I know people say, oh, human beings don't like change, and that's understandable in many ways, but realistically, human beings do desire change at one point. It's just the same, it's just, what do they desire from the change? So, case in point, if you're one of those people that likes a very cozy lifestyle, you are one of those people that wants everything to be simple and kind of always remain at a simple pace. You don't want too much of a rampant like increase of work ethic or stuff to happen to you that responsibility wise that you now have to control, and you don't want that. But at the same time, if you're one of those people that wants a cozy lifestyle, but also one that is not always the same repetitive motion, the same kind of cog mentality and motion that comes with, for example, working a certain type of job 24/7 for the next 20 years, you want change to build up in the sense of responsibly growing on you and maybe getting a new stepping stone in the way of the world. And in many ways, that is how we are with media, is that we want more things from the shows we expect. So at one point we may be content with, for example, a show being 20 episodes long and be like, oh, okay, that's fine. But there may be a point that we want something longer, or there may be a point that we want something that has more detail to it, or it just in general has a better story to it. And that's where we desire the change from. So the thing is that yeah, 30 years from now, we might want more stuff from anime. We might expect these visuals that are gonna just blow us away every time we see it. We might expect the storytelling to be at this great pace. And I think honestly, as long as we have people that are willing to push the boundaries of them, of what anime can do and what it should be doing, it will never die out. Anime will always be something that just keeps growing and growing and growing. Now, will there be a point that I think it stops for a little while growing? Yeah, realistically, because right now, in many ways, we're hitting a kind of plateau right now. We're starting to see a lot of shows being the same type of shows, and I know people say, well, there's a whole bunch of different. I'm not saying the different genres. I'm saying the kind of style and art style. We're seeing that, but here's the thing though, is that all anime has that. If you looked at the 80s or 70s or 90s anime, you saw that there was a very distinct kind of visual effect for them. There was this distinct way they were being done. Art styles were being done, animation styles were being done, etc. And it was something that in the 2000s then it kind of shifted when animation styles changed because they learned new technologies and were able to go, oh, we can make more images move this way by using a fusion between 2D animation at the same time also computer animation. We saw a rise of CGI for a little while and people had mixed feelings about CGI, but then we realized we could also put CGI together with 2D imagery to make this kind of better image in general and just make it look more smooth and kind of either go a full CGI route or a mixture of the two or kind of fusion of both. And what that did was that it keeps changing. It's the example of anime then growing and becoming different. So 2000s to recently, we're seeing a change. Even right now with stuff like this coming out, with the, Your Name coming out, it's showing that anime can be just that much more beautiful. And the thing is that with a little bit more effort, a little bit more money, a little bit more manpower, it can't be like this. It's just that what studios are willing to do this first off, because I mean, again, I can only imagine that this work right here must have cost millions of dollars to make in time, management, etc. A lot of younger studios or studios that only have smaller franchises may not want to settle for this right away, but as anime is expected to be grown and to get better, they are going to have to do that. They're going to eventually have to start shelling out more money and more human power and more resource management into making works that are expectant to that generation's ideal of anime. So the bottom line is, anime will never die. It's something that will keep evolving and changing and kind of getting stronger and becoming this living, breathing entity that keeps getting bigger and bigger until the point that it's going to become huge. It's going to be something that I know for a fact in maybe 20 years, maybe not in our generation per se, but maybe in our kids' generation or even their generation, it will be more of a wide known thing. I mean, right now as it is, I can go to most people and ask them, do you watch anime? And they can say, the Japanese animation? Not really, I don't watch that. But if you think about this, and it's crazy, but if I would have did it 10 years ago when I was a teenager, which I did do this before, I used to ask people, do you watch anime? They used to be, what the hell is anime? I've never heard of that. Not even the Japanese animation came to mind. It's just they never heard of the wording. And then if you even put Japanese animation, they went, Japanese cartoons, you mean? What are you talking about? I'm confused. What's different from our cartoons? As time goes on, it becomes more and more recognized because it becomes more mainstream. But more so, we're seeing in the West already a growth in anime. I mean, just in general, the last 10 years, 15 years, it's become bigger and bigger to the point that, yeah, imagine it now 30 years from now or 40 years from now. It's going to be something that, yeah, maybe it won't be something that everyone loves. I mean, I will always think that there will be people that dislike anime, obviously, like any type of medium, but it will be a known thing to everyone that at least if you go up to someone and ask them a question, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, not really. I don't watch that stuff, but I know what it is." Yeah, they will say that rather than be kind of ignorant or not understand fully what you're getting at. I mean, like I said, we've already seen that already beginning to happen. It's just going to continue to happen. So anime is not dead, nor will it ever die. I don't know why people always love to say that phrase, but it will just continue on and get better and better as time goes on. And honestly, I can't wait to see that. I want to see in my kids' generation how anime has evolved from my generation because it's just something to see anything kind of evolve and change so dramatically over the time. I mean, if you think about it, in our father's generation or our mother's generation, how video games, for example, they went from pixelated like nightmares, if you think about it, to stuff that's like nowadays, Gears of War and Call of Duties and stuff like that. You have these brilliant designs, and you're like, whoa. I remember my dad always saying that every time a new game comes out, like Battlefield or something like that. He goes, in my day we didn't have stuff like this. It's kind of scary, but you also have to understand that it's true. They didn't have something like this. So if you think about it in the world of anime, it's not very much different. That concept. We're gonna start seeing stuff in the near future that's just gonna blow our minds away. That I will predict that even younger studios or studios that don't have the same resources as the Makino Shinkai studio, you will see works of theirs that really push the button and make other studios have to follow suit because, as you know, no one wants to be left behind. And the thing is to not be left behind, you have to then kind of conform with the times. And thus, if anime wants to keep growing and to become this bigger thing I mentioned a million times already, it's going to have to keep growing with the times. So overall, it's never going to die. It's going to only die if, for some reason anime becomes, I guess, almost not mainstream anymore. If it stops dying in the West completely and starts dying in Japan itself. But here's the thing, I highly doubt that. I mean, it's just something that you already see kind of growing. I mean, Akihabara, many years ago wasn't the anime mecca that it is now, but you can see now it's just becoming more and more of an anime palooza place of a being that people go there and all there is essentially anime and video games. And that's a city. I mean, they could probably make millions of more cities if you think about it, just like that or centered around that because anime is growing in size. Anyways, guys and girls, though, I hope you enjoyed this, anime talk today. As always, please hit that like button, subscribe button, share button. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.